Hello, welcome to another INFJ ramble. Sorry, I can't speak well. Tonight's topic is going to touch on apologizing. I made a video on this in the past, and based on the place I was at the time that I created the video, and also the circumstances and the people I was interacting with, I think I was exploring a particular angle, and the people I was interacting with during that time didn't think that an apology was feasible. Like, they didn't see the point in me having to apologize. And um, I've been kind of encountering this enough times to want to explore it. Like, what is the purpose of apologizing? We're thinking of ways to, like, I guess, instead of saying I'm sorry, use a different term that had the same charge but didn't you didn't have the same words. I know that's complicated, but I don't understand why the people I've been encountering are just like, you don't have to say sorry. Like, I get it. Um, I think it just depends. It depends on the people you're interacting with, the situations, the circumstances, and why you're using those particular words in general. Are you using it because you, as a neutralizing agent, or are you using it because it's just been socially conditioned? You know what I mean? Like, why are you using the words I'm sorry? So I did think about it. I did take notes. So I'm going to try to elaborate in this video. I figure, like, I put my thoughts on paper so that I wouldn't have to just kind of like stumble through this recording. So I've gathered enough information to come to this conclusion, and I want to share it with you. And it may or may not be useful, but sharing is caring, and so if I don't put it out there, then nobody knows and nobody grows, right? Anyways, okay, so apologizing or apologies serve a useful and objectively measurable purpose. They convert a desire for revenge and resentment into a willingness to forgive and forget. In some cases, it can be used as a neutralizing agent. In other cases, merely a form of cordiality. And basically, it means I see you were harmed by my actions. That matters to me, and I care. So I think predominantly when I apologize, yeah, it's like I see that my actions may be causing conflict, or it may be causing a disruption to your current activity. So I see that and I care enough to, let you know that, and I think predominantly I use apologies in that way. You know what I mean? I think it takes a really humble and strong person to be able to apologize. I've noticed for most of my life, and I've said this in other recordings, that a lot of the times, like, there's been situations that have arisen where I was not at fault, but the other person took some kind of slight or action that I did personally. And in order to, like, neutralize the situation to prevent further conflict or rift in the connection, I would literally have to apologize for something that I didn't do wrong. I notice I usually have to do this to infant souls, baby souls, younger souls, and I think they take things personally when it's, again, not personal. Um, and, in order to diffuse a conflict or any misunderstandings, I'll, step up to the plate and I will say, I'm sorry. When in actuality, they should be saying sorry, but whatever, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's just like there's conflict. I want to neutralize it. I want to forgive and forget and move on because we're on the same team. We're not enemies, you know? So it's like, I don't want to fight with you, so I'm just going to apologize. And I think, like, also, the apology is very dependent on the sincerity of it. So if you are just saying it to say it, after a while, it just doesn't really mean anything. I think you've encountered situations with people like that where, they keep repeating the same thing over and over and over, and they think that they can just kind of like make amends and neutralize the situation by saying, I'm sorry. But I think, like, if words aren't followed up with actions, it doesn't really mean anything. You know what I mean? So I've encountered that, where people just keep apologizing, but they don't change the behavior. You know what I mean? So to me, and I will tell them, like, after the first, second, third apology, I will tell them, like, your apology doesn't really mean anything because you're not shifting the behavior, in order to create harmony. You're still like cycling this dysfunctional behavior, and then you think you can neutralize it by saying I'm sorry, but it doesn't change anything. So like I said, it's very dependent on the company you're in, the level of consciousness and maturity that they've garnered, the circumstances, the situation. But I feel like ultimately apologizing sincerely is a very powerful tool, and I think, like I said, you need to be a really strong and humble person to even say these things, because I think people who are more caught up in ego identity, or they can't admit to their faults and shortcomings, they won't be able to say sorry. It's just their pride gets in the way of that. And so, like I said, a very humble and mature and gracious soul is more apt to being able to apologize sincerely, and then adjust and shift their behavior in a way that creates harmony. Um, yeah, so again, refusal to apologize could stem from ego identifying itself in a grandiose position, or it believes um, an apology is translated into feelings of self-worth. Yeah, I already know that I'm worthy, worthwhile, so I don't think I'm functioning from a ego perspective. And literally, like, I say sorry because, again, it's a neutralizing agent, and I just think it's a form of graciousness, and also, like, you're able to forgive someone for their shortcomings and for their wrongdoings, you know what I mean, against you. And then, that determines, like, I don't know, your ability to forgive and forget and love and move on. But anyhow, in conclusion to my rambling, basically, apologies, first and foremost, communicate simply a message of I see and I care. I think, you know, I think, like, when you're interacting with older souls, they don't necessarily want the apology because there's no reason to apologize for being who you are and as you are. But with a younger soul or a baby soul, you may need to apologize in order to, you know, coddle them because they're throwing a fit because they're not quite understanding what this is all about quite yet. And it's okay. Anyhow, I hope you learned something. If you did, cool. If you didn't, cool. Blessings to one and all. Amen.